So you've spent time at Cass Business School, you've finished your studies. What to do in that summer break before you go out and start work for real? Well, for one Cass student, Donal O'Shea, the answer was to go to Ethiopia and work in an orphanage alongside Charleane Smith, the e-learning support officer at Cass. They're both with me now to tell me about their experiences. So, well, Donal, let's start with you. Yeah. How did you end up to be doing this?
Well, I originally was in college one day and got an email in my inbox from Leon just describing the opportunities available. So after that we pretty much just emailed in and applied for the position. We went to a talk with Jenny, who runs a small charity called Hannah's Orphanage, and after the talk we heard a lot more about the opportunity available to go out to Cass or the orphanage during the summer and teach there for a number of weeks. So I decided to email in an application, and then we had to write a letter outlining possible ways to fundraise for it and what we had to offer the kids out there. So I wrote all that down in the letter, and then Jenny selected a number of people, went in and had a talk with her and just talked about what I could offer, and just managed to get it in the end then.
So tell me about your first impressions when you arrived in Addis Ababa. What was it like?
When we arrived, we got an overnight flight. So when we arrived, we were met by Jenny's friend, Abby, who was a fanatic Manchester United fan. So that was a bit bizarre, being meeting by this guy just kitted out in a Manchester United kit with a hat. So when we arrived, it was kind of rush hour in Addis that morning. And the first thing I probably noticed were all the different types of taxis and just how crazy the place was. There was pretty much no traffic lights, no paint on the road. It was just everyone for themselves, kind of pedestrians jumping in and out. And we also passed by the church, in the new church in Addis, and realised how religious people are over there. It was about 7 in the morning. There was just thousands of people all dressed in white flocking to this kind of Ethiopian Orthodox church there. So it's kind of bizarre.
And then you arrived at the orphanage. Tell me about the place. How big is it? How many children?
Yeah, I'd say there was about 60 or 70 kids there. You could probably hear them before we actually saw them. It's up kind of a little dirt track off one of the main roads in Addis. It was kind of a very colourful place. You come in through a corrugated iron shed, and then suddenly you're the focal point of the whole courtyard. There's about 60 or 70 eyes just jump on you straight away. And they're kind of a bit cautious of you at first, the kids. They're ranging from about 4 or 5 year olds who didn't have a bother really on them. They're still playing hopscotch in the corner, and then some of the older kids. So when we first went in, we met Hannah, who actually runs all the orphanages. She runs about 5 orphanages in Addis, and she kind of showed us around. They have a few different classrooms there, very kind of basic facilities with just corrugated iron and wood, basically. And then they've the focal point of the courtyard is just an old volleyball pitch with it's not really a pitch, it's just a net with 2 sticks. So that's where the kids don't actually live there. They live in their own houses dotted around this area. This is just where they come every day for their lessons and to play games and interact with each other.
Charleane, you were there in an official capacity. You were the organiser of the trip, but you also were teaching the kids.
Yeah,
this must have been a very interesting summer.
It was an absolute amazing experience. The kids were wonderful to teach. We had quite a few surprises. We didn't realise that we'd be teaching the amount of kids that we were teaching, or the ages. We were expecting to teach younger kids, but then the following day the older kids were jealous, so we had to teach them as well. But they were really respectful. They really were eager to learn, and it made the experience, really amazing.
Because for them this was sort of a summer school, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I went over with 2 other students from CAS, and we took it in turns to teach the different classes and the different levels of English.
And it was English was the main subject here. These kids, what opportunities do they have in life?
They all have really big aspirations, actually, in this particular orphanage. They all want to be doctors or scientists and things like that, and they are really encouraged, especially there. Summer school's an opportunity for people like us to come in and teach them English, encourage their language skills, and basically they're being trained up to go to university. So there are some 21-year-olds and above who go back and actually teach these children and help them, to get to that level where they've been lucky enough to achieve to.
Because these are kids with sometimes very difficult backgrounds. Often the reason they're in the orphanage is because their parents died of AIDS.
Yeah, that's right. They come from very difficult backgrounds indeed. I mean, most of the children, they've come from, their parents have died of HIV, or their parents are in prison. And what happens in Ethiopia is that the children will go to prison with their mothers, and they'll have to live in the prison with them. And Hannah, the director of this orphanage, she has managed to speak to the government and take those children out of the prisons and put them in homes not too far away so they can still have contact with their parents. And that's one of the amazing things about what this charity has done.
Tell me about your memories of the trip. What are the things that are going to stay with you for the rest of your life?
Most definitely just walking into the orphanage every day and seeing the smiles on the children's faces. And it always really surprises me how much, they're really poverty stricken, but they're so happy, with what they've got, and happy to speak to you. They want to learn. And just all of the people I found in Ethiopia were so friendly. Whoever we approached, they always wanted to help and they wanted to speak to you, and that was amazing.
Donal, your memories, what are you going to take away from this trip?
Pretty much kind of similar to Charleane, just how genuinely happy the people are over there. They've obviously a lot less than us maybe in Europe, but they genuinely seem just very happy and content with themselves.
Tell me about a specific moment, something that really, a particular thing that will stay with you.
I suppose, well, just a funny anecdote for myself. I was trying to teach my class Molly Malone, which I don't think that took off too well. I was trying to sell the story of this poor woman on the streets of Dublin walking down with her fresh fish and trying to sell cockles and mussels, but really when one of the kids told me pretty much just to give up. So that was one of the funnier moments of the experience.
And what will you take from this? I mean, you're now out applying for work in the real world. What will you take from this that will take you forward in that?
Well, the kind of thing I took from, I suppose, from my own experience was just how eager they are to learn. I just know from my own education here at CAS the way we take such facilities and opportunities for granted, and maybe people in my own year back in school, we see education as something, a means to an end, and maybe we're forced to do certain tasks. Whether these kids genuinely any source of opportunity or education, they just jumped on it, and just even the amount of questions they asked, they genuinely just were so eager to learn. So maybe going forward, from my own perspective, would be just not to take anything for granted and just kind of be eager for every opportunity I can be granted in the future.
So you've now got some wonderful stories to tell at your job interviews. Charleane, just to close, this is an ongoing programme, isn't it? This is something that CAS is looking to do each and every year.
Yeah, that's right. Hannah, the director, she was really, really pleased with what we brought to the kids and how they responded and reacted to it, and was really also happy about the fundraising that we'd done for them. And we're also continuing to fundraise now throughout the course of the year. So, yeah, we hope to send some more students out next year to do the same, and hopefully it'll be as successful as this trip was.
Charleane Smith, Donal O'Shea, thank you very much for joining us on Cast.
Thank you.